see that?
Yep.
Did you get it?
Yep.
Whoop.
Tell me your name and your role with Bricktown Brewery.
Well, I'm Buck Warfield, which of course isn't my legal name, but it's the one I go by. And I'm the president and CEO of Bricktown Brewery.
Okay. Let's do it again. We'll just get the straight.
Okay.
Tell me your name and what your role is at Bricktown Brewery.
Buck Warfield, and I'm the president and CEO of Bricktown Brewery Restaurants, LLC.
Tell me a little bit about your past in the industry and how you arrived here.
I've done this since college at the University of Cincinnati. So one form or another, I've worked in operations, marketing, and eventually development. I actually built the restaurants. So I've worked for both small companies, entrepreneurial-driven companies, as well as Darden Restaurants, the largest full-service dining company in the world.
What are some of the things that you learned at the past restaurants that you've been involved with that are both good and bad that you sort of carried over here?
Over the course of my career, the things I've learned that have really been impactful to me is that there's no one single investor, stakeholder, customer that is predominant over all the others. It's really when you run the business with concern for all stakeholders, when you're as equally concerned for the guest experience as you are the customer equally concerned to the guest experience as you are. Yeah, okay. Well, now I can't remember it. What I've learned over the course of my career is that there really has to be a balance between all the various stakeholders, that you cannot emphasize the investor over the guest. You can't emphasize management over the employee. That when you balance your efforts, balance your responsibilities to all, then you have a good company.
So when you came from, I know that there are things that you do here because of some of your experiences. Tell me some of the things that you do that you find important, that you've brought over, that you've made your own here.
Well, I came from another brew pub company, so I actually have about 26 years experience in the brew pub space into that portion of the business very early on. So I brought a lot of transferable experiences and competencies here. Understanding the brand and what you want to be is very important, and understanding what you're comfortable with in your brand, I think, is very important. I like Mexican food, I like Italian food, but I have no interest in running a business that's oriented that way. I really have passion for craft beer, locally produced beers, for this type of value plus menu. And those came with me. So I arrived in the door with those thoughts. There was nothing new here. I knew what I was interested in and what I felt I could have impact on.
Tell me a little bit about the environment here at Bricktown.
Well, the brand statement here is local beer, great food, and truly friendly service. So if we start with the third, we want it to be a friendly environment at all levels. We want the kids to have a job they enjoy. We want them to come to work and be surrounded by people they like. We tell them they have the right to that, and if we can't deliver upon that experience, they should find another job. We want that to translate to the guests. They feel that because people are happy, they're nice people enjoying what they do, then that trickles down to the table or the bar top, and that improves their experience. So we don't view the restaurant business as rocket science. We think it's really just taking good people coming in off the street, serving them by good people that came off the street. They just have slightly different roles in the equation.
I like that. Where would you say in the marketplace that Bricktown Brewery fits, and why?
It's a great question, trying to isolate us within the competitive set, the marketplace. We're definitely a casual dining restaurant. Our real differentiator is our ability to produce our own beer and our focus on the way we feature other local beers. So we're a casual diner, which means we fall into that competitive set, such as Applebee's, Chili's, all of those, which is a $59 billion business. But it puts us squarely in that bar, grill, casual dining segment.
Sorry, I just heard some sort of squeak.
It's a bird.
Oh. Damn birds. Can you stop the bird?
That's the beer. That's the beer bird.
Can you say that sentence again about the 59 billion? Because I know you were.
Yeah.
Sure.
A great question is trying to identify where we fall within the industry. What's our competitive set? We are absolutely a casual dining restaurant, which is a $59 billion segment of the industry. We compete against many national chains, most that you'd be familiar with, Applebee's, Chili's, the Outback Steakhouse of the world, all of the full-service, varied menu chain operators, as well as all of the regional and independent operators that fall within this segment. Our differentiator is our ability to produce our own beer in most of our restaurants, or deliver our beer to most of our restaurants, and our focus on other local beers. So although we're 75% food, 25% bar, it's our ability to feature craft beer that really sets us apart within that segment.
So I guess that's what you would say is Bricktown's niche, right? Or what would that be? Would you have a different answer for that?
No, I think that would be our niche, which is a sub-segment of casual dining. If there's anything we'd like to define niche as, it's our ability to surprise you with food when it hits the table. We absolutely set it a goal for every meal to get a guest to say, wow, I didn't expect to get food like that in a place like this.
Tell me a little bit about your business model and what's unique about it.
Well, after having been around for a long time, I gave a lot of thought to what do you need to have for a successful business model if you're a small company, an entrepreneurial-driven company. And I think respect for capital is the first thing that you have to have, and the desire to see that the investor, as one of your stakeholders, sees not only their equity stake in the business growth, but sees the use of the funding they provide treated with respect. So we have a disciplined investment model. We average $725,000 per restaurant fully loaded, which is about 40% below the norm. Our measure of success is cash on cash. We want to make sure that we're getting a cash-on-cash return in excess of 40% as a group, and as our target on every individual deal. To do that, that empowers us with a different mindset than many of the large companies. Everything doesn't have to be the same for us. We're adaptive in our development style. We often call it a hermit's crab philosophy, in that we'll take someone's cast-off shell. But we're also adaptive in the size and the investment level. We have restaurants that have 3,900 square feet that we spent under $400,000 on, that have north of 40% cash on cash. We have restaurants that we spent $750,000 on, that net, that had a gross build out of $1.6 million, but we had a good deal. We're able to deliver north of 40% cash on cash. So we don't have a one-size-fits-all, except for our desire to exceed 40% cash on cash.
That's great. You just checked off 10
Yeah,
questions
I thought
there.
I thought I'd try to nail all that.
Yeah. So, tell me about. I know that locations and units are one and the same, but tell me about how many locations you have, or and you can say units is the same thing. I don't know. I didn't know that.
The size of our company at present is 9 company-owned restaurants, 1 specialty venue, and then we operate under an agreement with some related parties, 3 additional restaurants that have been licensed. The I'm not sure that's the way to approach that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's confusing.
That's a little too number of
Can you say
restaurants.
14, or you can't really?
We operate 14.
There you go.
14
Yeah.
Locations.
Yeah.
9 of which are fully.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, ready again?
Yep.
The size of our company at present is 14, excuse me, size of our company at present is 13 restaurants with one
You know,
under.
I think I was talking when you
Okay.
started talking, so just.
Okay. To your question, the size of our company, we're currently operating 13 restaurants with a 14th under construction. We'll open that within 30 days. Of the current 13, 9 are owned by us, 3 are under contract and licensed, and 1 is a specialty venue. We have a Bricktown Brewery within a racetrack and casino as partners with, actually partners with the Chickasaw Nation. So that's a pretty good start since we had 1 in 2011.
Wow. So can you say that again? Just.
Yeah, try that again. Okay.
In short, maybe a tiny bit shorter.
Okay. The size of our company? We currently operate 13 restaurants with 1 under construction. 9 of those are company-owned, 3 are under a management agreement to license third parties, and 1 is a specialty venue at a racetrack and casino.
Perfect. Where do you see Bricktown growing? What's it?
Well, certainly in the near term, I'd like to see us double the size of the company. And by near term, I mean the next 36 months. We certainly have the capability with the appropriate funding to achieve that level of growth. We currently have restaurants in a footprint that's made up of Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Kansas, and soon Missouri. We believe that there's at least another 12 restaurants within that footprint. We are currently examining additional markets to open so that we could accelerate growth by having sort of parallel development plans in a couple different regions.
That's great. What would you say are the most important operations for a restaurant?
What are the most important operations for a restaurant? Well, there are 100 details in a restaurant. I think they begin with who do you hire, how do you bring them on board, how do you orient them, how do you train them, and how do you get them into place. If you've got great people working for you that are committed to what you want to do, you have a good company. It's not a lot more complex than that.
So I know you've sort of answered this, but I'll ask it again. What makes this Bricktown so successful financially?
For clarification, the company or this individual?
I think we should say the company.
Yeah, okay. What makes Bricktown successful? I think it's the way we
Start that again.
Yeah. What makes Bricktown so successful financially? I think it is clearly measured by cash-on-cash return on the money invested. As a group, we're north of 40%. We're disciplined in our investment model. Our average investment cost per restaurant, fully loaded with all expenses, is well below the typical build-out for this type of place. I think one of the things that makes us extraordinarily successful is our ability to take on second-generation buildings. Someone else's failed property is actually our delight.
What would you say that you do that's unique in the industry?
Certainly one of the things that makes Bricktown unique is the combination of brewing our own beer through one of our 2 brewing facilities and delivering to virtually all of our restaurants that beer. So we use craft beer as a brand differentiator, but buried within that craft beer is our beer. So we look at beer as first Bricktown beer, then beer on our block, our city, our state, our contiguous states. So our approach is that craft beer equals local beer.
And is beer the only thing that you're making these days?
We're also just beginning to to produce our first of several craft sodas. This is Attaboy Root Beer, and it's a tremendous root beer. It's going through a beta test in all our restaurants. We're having very positive guest response. Later next year, we expect to look for a distributor for the product and begin to see it hit retail outlets.
That's great. Tell me about your clientele. What kind of clientele comes here?
Well, as we look, the type of clientele we see in this restaurant is very typical of first of the trade area. But from an overarching look, it is a typical casual dining customer. It will run from 21 to 25 at the bar for a craft beer, to families, and surprisingly very strong with the older customer who's increasingly using casual dining to an alternative to eating at home. So we see the full breadth of casual dining demographics within the restaurant.
Do you want to say something about, like business lunches, or I don't know, just to sort of broaden the...
In regard to occasion use within our concept, we see everything from business lunches to collections of school teachers to friends gathering, families in the evening. So it's a full breadth of occasion use, once again typical of casual dining, but the differentiator here is probably the bar. Our sales mix for alcoholic beverages is substantially above the norm in casual dining, and we believe that's simply because of the craft beer orientation.
What's the most important thing about a guest's experience?
Most important thing about a guest experience is actually that they got what they wanted in the way they wanted it, when they wanted it. And somebody was nice to them in the interim. It could be defined a lot more, in a lot more detail than that. But if you think about your own experience in a restaurant, you came in with something in mind. You just want to get it, and you want to get it the way you want it. And that's what we try to do.
What's the thing that you're most proud of in Bricktown?
The opportunities that the growth has given to a large number of people.
The thing that makes me the most proud.
The thing that makes me the most proud about my 7 years with Bricktown Brewery has been the opportunities that growth has created. In January of 2011, we had about 35 disenchanted employees and 3 salaried managers. Today, there's 51 salaried managers. Well over a third of those have come up through the hourly ranks. People who have seen what we do, decided they wanted to be part of it, and that restaurant management is part of their career. So internal growth, I just love seeing those folks. And we've gone from 35 people to, last count was 697 employees in soon-to-be 5 states. That's been the best part for me personally.
That's amazing. What's the value that guests will find when they come here?
Well, since the value that we provide to our guests is that it's a little bit different look and feel in each restaurant, so it doesn't necessarily feel chain-like. However, we execute with the sort of predictable quality of a chain, which is not necessarily independent-like. And then when we drop the plate on the table, there's usually a surprise. Once again, wow, I didn't expect to get food like that in a restaurant like this.
Tell me again sort of the 3 pillars that you find important.
We look at our brand as being made up of 3 brand pillars: local beer, great food, and truly friendly service. Each one equally important. Each one coming with a little bit of management challenge or requiring different management technique, and that's one of the things that makes this a lot of fun to run and to work in. We're in the brewing business. We're in the craft beer business. We try to prepare food that is unusually good for the market segment, and we get to hire really nice people.
You also go, I'm looking at him, so I'm not so much I think you have answered this, but tell me why you want to be known as the anti-chain restaurant.
Our desire to be known as an anti-chain is based in several things. Probably some of my own personality that I don't want to cookie cutter anything by nature. Also, what I know of the industry is that even with the current headwinds in casual dining, those small regional chains, the on-chain chains, have had growth. In spite of the downturn of the big companies, the little guys are winning because they're not national chains. So it's just a good business decision. So it's sort of coupled my personal desire not to cookie cutter anything I do, along with a good strategic positioning for growth, is to be a little different.
Will you just explain what you do to avoid that trap? Tell me about centralized operations versus decentralized operations at retail.
All right, we may have
Yeah,
several
John,
shots. John made this up, so I've got to wing it.
Yeah,
We look at our business as having, I don't even know where to go with this, frankly. Yeah, you're going to have to.
This is, I think, would maybe help with some of the content. Because as we sort of get through some of the broader topics about the pillars, you're essentially you're a manufacturer. You make great beer, great product in the form of food, and it's served by great people. So your responsibility to your product is make sure those are humming along.
Right.
And people oftentimes forget about the financial responsibility of that behind the scenes. You always have to be making improvements in